This cold udon noodle dish is perfect to beat the summer heat. It's citrusy, it's light, it's just so refreshing. Here in LA, we've been experiencing a heat wave, and all I want to do is just eat something refreshing and light. So for this recipe, you will need suyu, which is a Japanese soup base. I will link the recipe for homemade suyu up here, and I will also link it in the description below. You can use store-bought suyu. It does come in a bottle. You can find it in the Japanese market and also the Korean markets. And if you choose to use a bottled one, just make sure that you dilute it according to the instructions on the back. Before we get to making the yuzu broth, I'd like to talk about my favorite toppings, which I like to add to layer on the flavors. My all-time favorite is a 13-minute sous vide egg. For this, you will need a sous vide machine. It looks something like this, and it basically creates a water bath that maintains a certain temperature for a period of time. So here's a pro tip. Grab a little push pin or a safety pin and puncture a tiny hole at the rounder end of your eggs. This helps prevent the eggs from cracking when they're in the water. Today, we're going to sous vide our eggs at 75 degrees Celsius. When the water has reached temperature, drop the eggs in for 13 minutes, and when it's done, remove them and drop them into an ice bath. Your sous vide eggs are now ready, and you can crack them open right on top of your udon. Today, we're also going to chop up some green onions. It really goes well with suyu and helps bring out the umami flavors. Next, we're going to peel and grate some daikon. It's a type of radish with really sharp flavors. It's mostly sweet but can be bitter on the top side. Once you've grated the daikon, drain the juices from it. Another favorite topping of mine are shiso leaves. It may be hard to find, but you could substitute it with perilla leaves from a Korean market, but it's also just not the same flavor. So roll it up and cut it into thin strips. You can also serve these whole for aesthetic purposes. Another great topping to serve with is salmon roe or ikura. It's really strong in flavor, so you will either love it or hate it. Usually udon is served with tempura, but it's just way too hot for me to stand over the stove and just fry anything right now, so I'm just going to serve it with some salmon sashimi. So obviously noodles play a huge role in this dish, and it's best if you can find fresh noodles. I really like the udon noodles that are made by Korean brands. They do come in thicker sizes, but this is what I could find today. I also have some Chinese brand udon noodles, and these look a lot thicker. We're going to try both of them today and see which one we like more. We're just gonna cook them according to the package instructions and then dunk them in an ice bath to stop the cooking process, as well as chill the noodles at the same time. Finally, let's make the yuzu broth. The yuzu broth is actually super easy to make. So I've frozen my homemade suyu here, and I'm just going to dilute it with a little bit of water. Fresh yuzu is pretty hard to find, and I wasn't able to find any. So I'm using this bottled yuzu seasoning, and it works pretty well. I will link it in the description below. Let's add the yuzu and then add equal amounts of rice vinegar to the broth. Stir well to combine, and our Yuzu Dashi is ready. Now it's time to assemble our dish. So let's start with the Chinese udon first, and this dish will be for my husband. Pour in the yuzu broth and make sure you get it all over those noodles. Add in the green onions and some of that grated daikon. Now crack in that sous vide egg. And if you want, you can kind of use your finger to gently push all the whites aside to reveal the egg yolk. Now for the Korean noodles, and this is what I will be eating. Let's gently place in the noodles, pour in the yuzu broth, And for this dish, I'm going to add a whole shiso leaf. And now I'm going to load it with a ton of ikura. I've definitely added way more ikura than I would recommend doing, but you know, I had to do it for the cover photos here. Now finally top it off with a beautiful egg yolk. And add in a little bit of green onions and we're ready to eat. So, you guys might not actually hear us really well because the AC is super loud, but it's way too hot to not have it on right now.
It's too hot.
It's too hot.
It's gotta stay on.
Yeah.
Gotta say, this looks amazing. The presentation is
right, so
A plus.
Oh, thank you.
Just getting to it.
I can't wait. I'm so hungry. All right, so I'm gonna pop the egg. That's the best part. Wow,
that looked amazing.
That you have your yolk too.
I know, it's not mine. Cheers to that. Gooey. It's great.
How do you like your noodles?
They're really good. I like it. I kind of like the thicker, squishier noodles.
Can I try your noodles?
No, this is good too.
I feel like the soup clings onto your noodles better.
It does. It does. This kind of comes off of it as you're like slurping it up.
I do like. Yeah, I definitely get more of the broth eating it with this noodle. You can switch. I like mine though.
I like mine. Perfect.
Wow, we're so hungry.